Welcome back to the shop, friends. Today I have a very special video for you. We're going to be building a really cool laundry room organizer for Mrs. W with a secret hidden compartment. So I've already started. Let's just jump into it. I'll explain things as we go, and I think you'll enjoy the video. We've got one shelf to go, and this is where we're going to do our little secret cubby. I like to put little hiding spots for things in furniture. It's kind of fun. So we're going to have this is the back, but imagine it being the front. Well, we're going to have a toe kick on there, right? A toe kick, if you look at your cabinets, you'll see your cabinets don't come straight to the ground because your toes, your feet stick out further, is the furthest part of your body, right? So when you walk up to something, you'll hit your toes and you can't get close enough. So that's why they do a toe kick on there. Plus it just looks nice. So we'll do a toe kick. This is 4-inch. So what that's going to give us is give us a void underneath there that's not really going to be used. So by taking this last shelf, and I've marked out here 3 inches off the side, a 12-inch, roughly 12 by 10 or so opening that will have a finger hole in it that you can reach in and you can lift that out and you could hide things into there. You could hide cash or valuables or different things like that. It's kind of a fun thing to do when you make furniture. Now, if you're careful, you can reuse the piece that you cut out. It'll have a little bit of a gap around it, but that's okay. It'll come out better, and we're not building pianos here, are we? Okay, so we want a finger hole, and also I favor this to this is the front edge. This will be the back. I favor this to the back. That way, if something wasn't quite pushed in here, it's going to be a little bit harder to see that seam in there. So I pushed it to the back. Now, if you want to drill a real precise hole, and this will be the finger hole, you want to use a Forstner bit. And a Forstner bit will give you a very precise hole with clean edges. Just round up some 3/4-inch scraps you have left over and just rip 1.5-inch pieces, 3/4 by 1.5 inch, and we're just basically going to make a picture frame with this. Now we can place our toe kick here on the bottom, and I'm going to set that in there about 2 inches or so. So I'll just double check that. Now I'm going to go ahead and do a pocket screw on this because I want it to pull tight. We'll just when you're marking on your wood, don't use Sharpie ever. If you ever want to paint something, Sharpie will bleed through about everything. Use pencil and very light. That way you can sand it out or erase it. So let's put our pocket screws. We'll put 4 pocket screws in here, here, and those will be hidden so we won't see them. There. Double checked. I'm going to put the pocket screws in only on one side. I can see that the box it's not square, it's got a rack in it, and we'll square it once we get everything put together, and then we'll put those are nice, they pull it really nice and tight. That wasn't very good. You go to great lengths to make everything, take care of everything, and then you do something like that, and then press a bunch of gravel and rocks into your finished wood and smash the corner. And here, I'm going to go ahead and put the pocket screws. Now we're ready to put our secret shelf in. Now she can put, you can even put, if you want to really hide it, you can put a small piece of carpet out there, or one of those, just sort of a pad or a silicone deal, you know, those things that don't, non-slip deals you cut to fit. And that would be that'd be a good hiding spot there. As I mentioned, the back we're going to use just some scrap I have here. I don't have a big enough piece to do it all in one, so we'll do it in two and break it on one of the shelves. So this is just 1/4 inch veneered plywood. This 1/4 inch ply is just some scrap I had left over from the van build. So I have to get I've only got enough to get 2 pieces. I don't have enough to get 1 piece, but 2 pieces. And I got some blemishes, so I'm just choosing the nicer stuff, and we'll make it a 2-piece back. Okay, that's the last of it. Now this is where the chickens come home to roost. How well did you do? How square is your box? So to check your squareness, you go pull a diagonal, cross to cross to the point. So we're at 73 3/8, and we hook on the same place right in the corner right there. Check this corner. We're at 73 3/8. It's absolutely perfect. That's where taking the extra time to cut everything really straight and to be super hyper diligent on all of your measurements, and it'll save you time down the road. You know, by cutting corners, you're not cutting corners. All you're doing is kicking the can down the road. And worse is if you are, you take a guy that is a foundation guy, right, or foundation contractor, and they do shoddy work and they pour a foundation that's not straight, it affects everyone else down the road, ultimately to the finished carpenter, where he's got to deal with it, and then the homeowner, when he wants to hang up, or he or she wants to hang up cabinets or things and dealing with a crooked house. I think it's a great sin. I think the Lord takes a dim view on shoddy work. Because it causes other people aggravation. It causes them, wastes their time, wastes their money, and just for lack of, I just detest it. I have worked, working as a contractor, I've dealt with it for so many times, needlessly, just for lack of making a little bit of extra effort, or pulling a tape measure, or breaking out a square, do things right, and just makes everyone else's life miserable. Here's a close-up on here on how we did that and why. You see how that's rabbited down in there, and it sits in there at least flush. If it's just a little bit below, that's even better. Now what you have there, I mean, imagine this, if you're looking at it from the side, now you can't see that, there's no joints, you can't see that cap. Or that back panel right there. It's all very clean. Now the one thing I would have done different, and I didn't think about this because I'm kind of making this up as I go. This may not be the best way to do it. It's just what seemed logical to me. It would have been nice not to cut that rabbit all the way and left that, because now we're going to have a gap right there, which doesn't matter because this is hidden up against the wall. If this would have been a freestanding unit, I would have had to redone that. Just so you know. So if you're doing that, and also these guys here, you wouldn't want the pocket screws exposed. The ultimate goal, and has been for carpenters for years, is to create something where you can't see any screws or any joinery. That it looks like the wood is just put together and everything is well hidden, and that's always my goal whenever possible. So that doesn't bother me having those pocket screws there, because they will not be seen. We'll be looking at it from the inside, and you will indeed see not one fastener or screw or nail hole or anything from the inside. Also, if I forgot to mention, if you do have to use multiple pieces here, this breaks on the center of a shelf so that we can get nails in there, because you have to really secure these well, because if someone's pushing books or pushing things in, it'll hit this and it'll push it out. So it wouldn't be a bad idea to glue it. This is going to be light duty, and it's so deep that she's rarely going to push anything to the back. I'm not going to worry about it. So we'll just take some small inch and a quarter nails, some pins, and then just nail that all in there and secure it. I'll mark the shelf, or the center of the shelves, so you don't want to go to all the trouble of making this and then not mark your shelves and push a nail through and blow out that fancy plywood and break your heart. So take a minute and make sure that you know where your nails are going. And the final thing before we put the finish on it is I'll put some, I like these felt feet. I put these on the bottom of all of our chairs. They have a nail on them and a thick piece of felt. They've held up really good. Come back from the edge a little bit so you don't split it. But it's a pretty small nail. But this will protect the floor. Not only will they protect the floor, but they'll protect the plywood. If you have a spill, water gets on the floor, that will hold it up off the floor and it won't wick up into the wood and mess it up. Plywood's durable. That's what makes it so much nicer than particle board, because it can take a few wet and dry cycles, where particle board, or not so much. There it is, a one-of-a-kind Mrs. W's laundry organizer with a hidey hole in the bottom. So normally when I would build something like this, I would put a 1x on there, as well as the shelves. Most shelves are going to be 3/4, but if you put a little 1 inch or 1.25 inch face on there, it hides that end grain, which is kind of unsightly, and it gives it a thickness, a heft that looks nice. I don't have room for that. This is perfectly sized for her laundry baskets. I don't have a fraction of an inch to spare because between the wall and the washer and dryer stack, so it has to be there. And that's why I spent a little extra money for the Primo A1 plywood, which did not turn out to be that way. This stuff was $110 a sheet. And I specifically asked the guy when I ordered it, I wanted it to be 7-layer. This is 5. I wanted it to be free of void, which it wasn't right there. So it's not very good compared to what's out there. And this is like $50 plywood. This is not $100 plywood. So make sure if you're going to be using it and these end grains exposed, that you double check it. I haven't a lot of experience with this, and I just picked it up and didn't pay much attention to it, and I started cutting it, and it's just not very great, not very good. Like right here, look at that. That should not be happening in A1 plywood, but it is what it is. So live and learn. I'll be a little bit more discerning on the next time I order the stuff. But as you can see from everything that she'll see or anyone will see, there is no hardware, no fasteners, nothing to show that it was put together. Everything is hidden. So that's always it's always kind of a fun challenge to do when you're building things, to think about how you can do that and make it as clean as possible. We have the toe kick down there. Now you can see as you come up, your toe fits underneath. You're not kicking it. You can get close to it. And that's important for deep cabinets too, because if you have to reach all the way in the back, sometimes you have to, get right up to it. But overall, I think it turned out good. Don't know I'd do anything different. The back was 2 pieces, you can see there. But so far so good. I suppose there's a lot of you guys that are your own worst critics. I know I am. As I said earlier, you always try to do your best. I always try to, I remember, whenever I'm building and I'm working, I'm always thinking of a scripture that comes to mind: do all things to the glory of God. And all things is all things, right? So doing things is the best you can, whatever that may be. If it's your appearance, the way that you drive, when you start implementing that into your life, and you're thinking, I'm honoring God, or I'm attempting to, or I'm trying to get farther up the ladder, it changes the way you look at life, and it changes the way you do things. And of course, there's always going to be great disappointment, because you knock something on the ground, or break something, or cut something the wrong length, and you're hiding stuff, and you the carpenter, you the builder or the creator, whatever it is you're making, where you cut corners, right? And you know where the imperfections are. I look forward to being in the kingdom. The interesting thing about it, you'll talk to people about, what is the afterlife like, and in eternity. Can you imagine in eternity? Wouldn't I get bored? Some people, you hear them say very foolishly with a perspective of a child, well, it doesn't sound like fun to me. I mean, I'm going to spend eternity sitting on a cloud strumming a harp. Well, that's a very childish perspective of that. When you read in the old books, and you have the ancient Oriental man that's trying to describe the undescribable, right? When he's talking about milk and honey and the land flowing with this and that, we don't particularly want milk and honey. I mean, milk's okay, and a little bit of honey's nice from time to time, but having like lakes of it, it doesn't really appeal to me for a minute, let alone eternity. It's simply a simple man trying to explain the extraordinary. Right? And that's the only thing he could think of. What was the most valuable thing in his life, right? It was milk and honey. To get honey, you didn't go to the grocery store. You had to go and go into full combat against the bees and get it. You earned your honey, right, with stripes and a couple hundred bee stings. So and even if you could find it, right? So it was very precious. So he's just simply trying to explain the preciousness of it. The interesting thing, though, is when you go to the very beginning and you start looking at what were the first children of God doing? What were they doing? Were they just sitting around being lazy, doing nothing? No, they worked. If you go and you look at it, it was their job to tend the garden and to train the vine and to start there and to build that knowledge up to the point where there's no end to it. If you want to be in the kingdom, and I guess if you wanted to become a carpenter, you could spend the time at it with no rush. Never get tired, no splinters, no worry of deadlines or money or that. You could spend as much time, you could spend years on a particular project until it was perfect. You could get to the point where you could take your trade or your craft, whether it be a musician or a painter, an artist or a poet or a singer or a carpenter, and you'll have enough time to do it to utter perfection, where for once in your life, you can create something with your hands and you can stand back and you can say, indeed, it is good. It is perfect. It may have taken me a millennium to get there, but you did it. Then you can move on to something else. You ever wanted to have the time to learn to play a musical instrument, but just couldn't because of the pressures of family and time? Those are the things. So when you look at it from that perspective, it's very exciting to be able to master something and to move on to master something else. And the joy that comes from working with your hands and building things is the best. You can. As far as men, I mean, there's one of the most. I'll close with this. One of the most rewarding things in life is working with your son or working with your friend or with your father to build something great. Maybe it's a deck, or maybe it's a house, or a trailer, or who knows what it is. But at the end of the day, it was tough, and you worked, and you sweated, and you had problems, and you solved it, and you worked together. And at the end, you're tired. You have that good tired feeling, that comes from a good, honest day's work. To be able to sit back and to admire the work that you did, and to share it with others, and to have that satisfaction. It's one of the greatest things in life. And so I really believe this epidemic that we have of depression, and maybe people that don't really feel moored or anchored to anything and just kind of drifting through life and lost, is that lack of purpose, that lack, not having the opportunity to create something, to build it, and to step back from it and say, that's good, I'm glad I did that, I'm proud of that. That's what keeps you going, and that's kind of how we were created. And when you remove that, when you remove yourself from that and you plug yourself into something where you no longer have that ability to be creative and to constantly be learning and improving and evolving, I think that depression can set in. And that's not the case for everyone. Of course, there's always outliers, and some things are maybe chemical. Who knows? I'm not a psychologist, psychiatrist, psychotherapist, whatever. All I know is that I think a lot of men's ills could be solved with getting out and doing an honest day's work. It seems to me anyway. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next video. Really good. What do you think, sweet loaf? What do you think, huh? Did you see your secret cubby?
Yeah.
You could hide stuff into there.
And nobody will know.
Well, if it has a laundry basket in it.
Ooh, look at what I'll put in there.
They don't put anything.
Nice.
So it's not sanded yet or anything, so.
Hi, Dada.
Hi, baby.
It looks really good. Cody's super nice.
Would you like to take this in the house?
I think that should stay in the shop because then I have to take care of it. Nothing gives a woman more pleasure, or a girl, than her own drill.